Hi learners, welcome back to the Yellow Lane YouTube channel. We are happy to have you again, and in today's tutorial we are going to be learning how to make this cute jean bag. Yes, so I'm going to be showing you the details of this jean bag right now. So we have the flap, the snake skin, it's an embossed full leather. Then we have the exterior pocket that extends and it goes right into the base of the bag. Then this pocket can also be locked so that whatever it is that is tucked in here can be protected when the major compartment of the bag is opened. So we have the major compartment of the bag. So we have two slip pockets where you can insert your money, your cards, your keys. It just helps you to organize your basic things, and then it is very spacious. To the gusset, we have this U-shaped gusset design, the 2cm double panel design as most people know it. So that is what we have here. Then we have the base of the bag with 4 bag seats for the bag to sit on to avoid stains on here. The bag fabric used in here is a jean material. So I've heard a lot of, can I use jean materials? What kind of materials can I use for bag? I can't get leather where I am. Then you can use your fabric as well. So if you have the local African prints, your Ankara, your Ashoke, you can use them for your bags as well, just the same way I used jean to make this. So for the handle of the bag, I have this crunched handle, such a detail. This bag does not have too much of accessories. We have just 2 pairs of overall rings, 3 pieces of magnetic snaps. We have 1 snap fastener to fasten the front compartment to the major body of the bag. Then we have 4 bag seats at the base. You can use either of the leather or the jean fabric to make the detachable shoulder strap. After making the detachable shoulder strap, you may be wondering, this does not have a D-ring for me to connect the handle to. So the handle goes in here. So this is where you're connecting the shoulder strap to for the cross body of the bag. You can check the description below to be able to get how the pattern of the bag was made. You can send your bag pictures, your feedbacks, and even if you have questions or comments about this tutorial, you can send it to us on WhatsApp. You can always check for our number in the description, or you can use the number displayed on the screen right now to reach us via WhatsApp. You'll be added to our WhatsApp group community where you can join other learners, ask questions, interact, and even gain more insight into bag making and be able to cheer you up in your bag making journey. So let's get right into the bag tutorial.
This is the pattern paper that we're going to be using to draft. So these are the patterns that we're going to be using to make this bag. I've cut out the patterns on the stiffeners. I'm just going to be separating the stiffeners and the patterns on one side. So once you have your stiffeners in place, the next thing that you want to do is to cut the bag fabric for the bag. I'm going to be using this jean material as the bag fabric of the bag. So I'll place my stiffeners on the bag fabric and I'll cut the bag fabric with allowance. You can use Ankara, Ashoke, you can also use leather. Whatever fabric you want to use for the external part of your bag is up to you. But here in this tutorial, I'm using this jean material. For the front compartment of the bag as well, I'm also going to cut bag fabric for it. So for the flap of the bag, I'm using this snake print leather for it. It's a synthetic leather, or otherwise called faux leather, and I'm trying to check the particular pattern that I want to fall on the compartment of on the flap of the bag. So I want the yellow part to be in the middle, while the blue part should be at the edges of the flap. So you can select which of the patterns of your leather appears on your bag. For the interfacing of the flap, I'm going to take the major flap itself and the wrong side of the bag fabric that I'm using for the flap. I'm going to draw out, just trace out the major flap on the bag fabric itself, the bag fabric you're using for the interfacing. Just trace it out in a way that is visible enough for you to see it, and then you draw it out. So you're going to cut with allowance. You cut with enough allowance to fold the edges. So you apply gum on all the bag fabrics and the stiffeners, and then you place them on each other. So this is for the front pocket of the bag. Place the stiffener on the bag fabric. Also place the front part of the bag on the bag fabric. Ensure to leave allowance, especially on the two sides and at the top. Ensure to leave allowance for folding. For the flap of the bag as well, you place it on the bag fabric. Ensure to leave allowance for folding on all the edges. This is the front pocket of the bag. The base of the bag. The gusset, the first gusset. Second gusset. The front filler. For the short handle, the top handle of the bag, watch how I'm going to be doing it. So on one edge of the bag, that's where you place the stiffener, and then you wrap the edge up with the bag fabric. Then the excess bag fabric that is left, you're going to fold it over the top handle, over the stiffener. Ensure that it gets to the edge. You're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut out a piece. So just watch closely how I am cutting it. So after folding it that way, the next thing is you fold a little bit of the excess back fabric and then you fold it over the top handle as we did first. So the wing you have on the side is what is going to hold the oval ring or whatever type of ring that you are using. So this part is where is going to hold the ring. So after placing the stiffeners on the back fabric, next thing is you want to gum the back fabric. You want to fold the edges. So the excess back fabrics on the edges of the stiffener, you fold it over the stiffeners, and that helps you to give the edges of your stiffeners neat finishing. So this is the base of the bag. This is the gusset. Then this is the part that is going to hold the overall ring, your ring to the top flap of the bag. So it's just 2 centimeter by 12 inches and it's a soft paper board in there. I just wrap the edges. The other part does not have to be neat. So the second gusset of the bag, you also wrap that as well. You fold the excess back fabric over the edges of the stiffener. Then the front of the bag, you're going to cut away the space. You're going to cut away this way. You leave allowance to fold over the remaining part of the stiffeners. So just cut off the useless parts of back fabric and then you make a tiny slit into the corner so that it allows you to fold this to the top and the other ones to the side. You also fold the other edges as well, but you leave the bottom part since you're still going to be joining it to the base of the bag. Just be trimming off this jean because I don't want it to overlap so that it's not bulky. This is the back of the bag. You're also going to fold that as well. So you wrap it and make the edges very neat and clean. Then the front pocket of the bag, you also fold that as well. Remember the line we marked when we drew after tracing out the pattern on the stiffener? So that shows us where the base of the pocket is going to be. You're not going to fold that part. So for the interfacing of the flap, you're going to take the stiffener for the interfacing, you place it, you make sure that it aligns with the line that you drew on the bag fabric. To ensure that it aligns with the line properly. And then you're going to follow the lines to fold. So you're going to fold the edges following the lines that you have marked. Ensure that you follow the lines to the detail, and ensure that you are folding inside of the line, not outside of the line, so that the interfacing is not wider than the major flap of the bag. So this is the lining that I'll be using for the bag. It's a cloth lining, it's a fabric lining. So I'll be placing the gusset of the bag on the lining. I'll be cutting out the lining for the gusset. When you're cutting the line, especially cloth lining, ensure to leave allowance at the top so that you can fold for neat finishing of the lining at the top. We have two gussets for the bag, so you're going to cut the lining in two places. Like I said, you only have to cut allowance for the lining at the top of the bag. So I've applied gum on both the lining and the gusset. So I'll fold the lining at the top and place it at the top of the gusset. Ensure that the lining is not being seen at the top of the bag. It's just a tiny bit lesser than the major body of the gusset. So your lining must not be seen outside. Those ones on the sides of the gusset will still be trimmed off, but at the top where we will not be trimming, ensure that your lining is not getting to the top or is not even extending in such a way that they'll be seeing your lining outside. So for the flap of the bag, we're going to take our pen knife or whatever object you can use to create a very nice slit. So the 2 centimeter line we measured in the middle of the top of the flap, you're going to slit that open, and you're going to pass the ring holder through it. So through that slit, you pass your ring holder through it. You're also going to pass it through the second side as well. Then you apply glue or your Evostik gum in the middle part to hold the ring holder down to the board. So that gums it down to the board. Then you take your rings. So these are the oval rings that I'll be using. You can use square ring. You can also use D ring as the case may be. You can also use circle rings as well. But I'm using oval rings for this tutorial. So you pass the ring into the ring holder and then you pass the ring holder back through the same slit. You can attach the ring holder to the top handle first before you pass it through the ring holder, or you can take this step first before passing it through the top handle. But the easiest one is to first put the oval ring, your rings, into the top handle, then you pass it through the ring holder to the body of the flap of the bag. So you cut off the excess ring holder. You cut it off, the excess ring holder. Ensure that it is very close to the edge of the bag, of the top of the bag, and cut off the excess. So you open up the part that you've already closed, and then you tuck the ring holder into the middle of the paper board as well as the bag fabric, so that you can neatly finish that off. And when you're sewing the flap, you can also stitch on it as well. Then I'll be using this 15 inches by 4 inches for the scrunch aspect of the handle. So I'll fold the edge. So first of all, fold the edges. I'll fold the second edge as well. And then I'm going to stitch on the wrong side. So bring the wrong side together and then stitch on it. Once you're done with that, you're going to also stitch on your top handle. So remember that folded part, you're just going to stitch on it. You're not going to start from the beginning, just the mid part, just very close to the top. You stitch on it. And then you leave some allowance so that you can stitch on the holder for the oval ring. So here you're going to apply glue or your gum on the edges of the part where you just stitched. So once you've applied gum on the edges of the part where you just stitched, both front and back, then you're going to make it lay flat. So after making the excess part where you stitched to lay flat on the major part of the handle, then you're going to turn it out. So you turn it out and then it gives you this circular tube feel. Then you pass the top handle into it. So the jean top handle that you just made, you pass it through it. So you clip one side of the jean handle, you clip it to the tip of the tube so that it doesn't remove, so that it doesn't come out. Then the other part, you pass it through the oval ring. I'm sorry that this is not so visible, it's out of camera in a way, apologies. So you pass it through the oval ring, the excess part of the jean fabric, and then you cut off the excess part, pass it over into the jean, into the oval ring, and then make sure that it is sandwiched into the jean. So the part of the jean where you didn't stitch, that's where you sandwich the holder, the part holding the ring, that's where you sandwich it. So you go back to the sewing machine and then you stitch. Remember that we still have a clip holding the second edge of the jean top handle to the scrunched leather handle. So tuck the jean in very well and then top stitch so that it securely holds the ring. Then the part where you didn't stitch the other time, you also finish stitching it. And that's it for that end of the handle. Then you also take the second part of the jean handle on the second end. So you pass it into the oval ring. And then the same way you did the first one, you're also going to do the second one. Cut off the excess jean material and the excess bag fabric, as the case may be, and then you place it, you sandwich it in between the jean and the top handle. Okay, so it was a bit difficult to stitch, so I had to remove the oval ring from the ring holder and stitch. So that was why I said that it is preferable that you put the oval ring on the top handle first before you pass it through the ring holder to the top of the flap of the bag. So you can then pass it back to the ring holder, pass the ring holder through the oval ring again, and then pass it through the slit. So you glue it down towards the edge, ensure that it gets to the edge of the paper board. If there are excesses, you cut it off, and then do the same thing for the second edge. Ensure that it gets to the edge of the carry board. If there are excesses, cut them off. So this is the handle. However full you want the top handle, the scrunch to be, that's the length of the leather that you cut for it. So you can cut more length than 15 inches that I used in this video. So you fold the bag fabric over the jean material. So you fold it over. Then by the time you're stitching the edges of this flap, you're going to stitch the top handle alongside it. Okay, so I'm placing the interfacing on the flap to see where the flap line gets to. So I'm marking where the flap line gets to on the interfacing of the flap. So where the flap line gets to, I'm going to draw that line so that I know that, okay, this is where my flap starts from. And that's the line that I'm going to place on the top part of the bag. So the top part of the front of the bag, you align it with the line that you just made, and then you clip it, or whatever it is you can use to hold it in place. Then you do the same for the second side. So the front pocket as well, you place it where it is supposed to be, where it has to be. So here what we are trying to do is to fix the magnet for the bag. So I have to fix the magnet on the flap, and the magnet has to be sitting on the flap interface. So I'll take one part of the magnet and press the feet of the magnet. So I'll press it against where I want it to sit on the body of the bag. Does not have to be too close to the edges, so that while you're stitching the edges of your flap, you don't stitch on it, else it will break your needle. So you have to look for the proper place to fix the magnet, such that it doesn't hinder your stitches while you're making them. So you place the magnet's feet on the pattern. You place it on the piece of your bag and mark the feet. So the feet will make a mark that helps you to pierce a hole. So it helps you to know that, okay, pierce this hole, pierce that hole, that's where the magnet will enter through. So I'm piercing the hole together on both the flap interface and the body of the front of the bag together. So the part of the magnet that feels like it has a nipple, that one goes on the interface. So the part that looks like nippled parts, it goes on the flap interface. Then the other part that looks like it has a hole, that goes to the front of the bag. So it goes on the body of the bag. So you place the washer of the magnet over it, and then you press the leg of the magnet so that the magnet does not come off. So washer often comes with the magnet. When you're getting your magnet, the washer comes with it. So the washer prevents the magnet from coming off or even tearing your bag fabric or your stiffener. So the same thing for the one on the interfacing of the bag. You place the washer as well and press the feet. So you can press them apart or press them together, or over each other rather. So try and test it to see if your magnet is well fixed. If it is well fixed, then you continue with what you need to do. So I'll be placing the third magnet to hold the middle part to the front pocket. So I just press the feet of the magnet against the interface, and I'll place the nipple part is the part that is going to be on the interface. So place it and fix it. Then the other part of the magnet, you clip it to the magnet itself, and then you place the front pocket of the bag in place where it should be. So align it to where it should be on the front of the bag, and then press it against the feet of the magnet that you just placed on the flap interface. So press it against it, it leaves a mark. So it is that mark that you will pierce. Then you remove the magnet from the interface and place it on the front pocket. So place the washer on it on the wrong side and then press the feet either apart or on each other. And that way we've been able to fix the magnet for the bag. So I've applied gum on the top part of the bag, and I'm covering it up with this paper board. So it's a soft paper board. So I'm using it to cover up the parts of the bag where the ring holder is. I don't want that to bulge out on the interface of the bag, so I'm using this paper board to cover it up. And I also don't want the paper board to go past the line assigned for the top of the bag. So I trimmed it off on the edges. Done with that, you place the interface on the major flap of the bag and ensure that the edges are lined properly. Then you're going to stitch the sides of the bag. So you start from the back and then you stitch the sides. And the front parts. So you follow the shape of the flap. Then you take the back of the bag and you place the back of the flap, you place it over the back of the bag. So the cornered part of the flap must align with the cornered part with the top of the back of the bag. So that part of the bag, the flap and the top part of the back of the bag must be aligned. So I've clipped that down so that it doesn't move. Then I'm going to stitch the back of the flap to the back of the bag. So you stitch the flap of the bag to the back piece of the bag that we are making. I'm going to make a parallel stitch and end the stitches where I started it from. Next thing to do is to join the base of the bag to the back of the bag. You take the base of the bag and then you place it. Remember the line that we made, the extra line that we made for the stitching allowance. So you're going to align that with the base of the bag. So I'm gluing it so that the base stays in place and I can sew from the right side. Then make a knit stitch joining the base to the body, to the back piece of the bag. For the side panel of the front pocket, I'm going to be using the jean material to do the lining while I use the leather bag fabric to do the main part. So I'm going to place the right side of the jean fabric on the right side of the leather. Then I'll place the pattern of the front of the side panel on it so that I can sew according to the shape. Also the top part as well as just one side of the panel. Okay, so I'm going to cut off the edge and make tiny slits around the top side, then turn it in. So bring out the corner, then top stitch on the top part. You do the same thing for the second side as well. You place the right side of the leather to the right side of the jean material or the lining, whatever lining you're using, and then you place the pattern on it and use it to sew. So you sew the top part as well as just one side of the panel, then you turn it out. Top stitch on the top part of the panel. So you're going to take the front pocket. You would have already lined the front pocket. So the part of the lining at the top, I'm going to top stitch on that so that the stitch holds the lining to the body of the front pocket. So you take the front part of the bag and the front filler, and then you're going to glue the front filler to the front of the bag so that it fills the space in front of the bag. So once that is in place, you take the front pocket and then you connect one of the panels to it. So the side of the panel that you've sewn inwards, that's the part that is going to be attached to the side of the front pocket. So you don't want the lining to be showing outside. So try as much as possible to push the lining inwards. In this case, we are using jean for the lining, so I was trying to push it inwards so that it's not showing outside. Then you do the same for the second side of the front pocket. So place the side panel of the front pocket underneath the foot of the front compartment of the bag. So the front piece of the bag, you just raise the leg up and then you place the side panel of the front pocket underneath it. You can glue that down so that it doesn't move away. So you do the same thing for the second side as well. You place the side panel underneath the foot of the front piece. So try and align and see if the front pocket fits back into the space opening on the front piece. Major essence of applying the glue is just to hold it down so that we can stitch. So once that is done, you place the front piece underneath the sewing machine and then you stitch on the front piece. So the front piece is going to, the stitch is going to hold the front piece together with the side panel, together with the front filler. So the magnet is very close to the edge of the material, so it's giving me a bit of an hard time to stitch. And I was able to walk past that and make the necessary stitches. So you stitch the top part as well. Ensure you're not stitching on your pockets. Don't seal your pockets with your stitches. Just sewing on the front piece of the bag. The stitch is to be made on the front piece of the bag. And try and sew close to the edge as much as possible so that it makes your work look neat. So once you're done stitching that, our front pocket is in place. The next thing to do is to join the front piece to the base of the bag. So you can trim off the excess bag fabric that you have. And so you place the front piece, the base part of the front piece, on the base of the bag. Remember the line that we drew, the sewing allowance that we have on the stiffener. Ensure that it's aligned to the base of the bag. Then you use your glue to hold it in place so that it allows you to be able to stitch and it does not move apart. Turn it to the right side and make your stitch on the base. Try and sew close to the edge as much as possible. This makes your work to look really neat. So you're also going to bend that so that it becomes foldable. So if you have excess pieces around, you can trim them off. So I'm trimming off the excess piece of the front filler. Then I'm bending the front piece so that the base stays at the bottom and then the front occupies its space as the front. So here we're almost done with the bag. We have the back piece, the front piece, and then the base in place, the flap as well. So with time, the flap will take it. You won't have to be setting the flap in order to close with time. Then for the back seat of the bag, you're also going to position the back seat on the bottom part of the bag. So for the front pocket of the bag, we don't want it opening up every time the flap of the bag is open. So we're going to make a piercing so that we can fix a snap fastener on it. I'm just going to make a hole to attach a snap fastener to it. So you attach the snap fastener. You can also use the normal regular magnet for this aspect of the bag. But if you're using the regular magnet, ensure that the rough part of the magnet is not seen on the exterior part of your front pocket. So you want to keep it as clean and as neat as possible. So here we've been able to fix the snap fastener, and the front pocket can now close. So the snap fastener holds it to the body of the bag. For the slip pocket of the bag, you're going to take some pieces of your bag fabric and you're going to sew it on the lining. So you can lining the slip pocket of your bag. You can put lining on it, but here I wouldn't be lining this. I'm just going to place the jean fabric on it straight up, but I'll fold the top part of it so that it is neat. Then I'll also fold the side. Since the pocket is wide enough, I'm going to fold the sides, then stitch to the lining of the bag. So for the second slip pocket, it's just a tiny pocket for cards and tiny stuff. So I'll also top stitch. I'll fold the top part of the slip pocket and top stitch on it. Then I'm not going to be folding this, but of course you can fold it as well so that it is neatly finished. You can fold the edges, but in this tutorial I will not be folding the edges. Once you're done with the slip pocket of the bag, you apply gum on the surface, that's the wrong side of your bag as well as the wrong side of your lining as well. Since you're using cloth lining, you have to fold the lining at the top before you place it on the major part of your bag, on the major body of your bag. So you glue the lining to the body of the bag. Ensure that it is neatly and smoothly placed on your bag. Then when it gets to the top, you're also going to fold the other top, that's the top of the back of the lining. Is done, you trim the edges of the bag fabric, so you trim the excess lining away. Then we've also lined the gusset of the bag. Remember, we lined the gusset of the bag, so the top part of the gusset, we're going to top stitch on that so that the lining is held to the main gusset. You do the same thing for the second one, so we're only top stitching the top parts of the gusset. Then you take the base part of the gusset, as you can see me doing this video, and you're going to top stitch on it. So you're going to stitch it down. Just take a tiny part of it and stitch down. Basically the 2 centimeter box that we cut off the pattern, that's what you're going to be stitching. You do the same thing for the second gusset as well. So the part of the gusset where there is no paper board, that's what you're stitching on. So we have our 2 gussets ready. The next thing is to attach the gusset to the body of the bag. So before that, we are going to top stitch on the top part of the bag, of the major body of the bag. So this holds the lining to the body of the bag. Here I'm top stitching on the back, the top part of the back. It holds the lining to the body, to the main body. Then the top part of the front as well, you top stitch on it. Once you're done with that, then you place the gusset at the top of the bag. So just align it, the top part of the gusset, to meet the top part of the main body of the bag, and you're going to stitch. So here you have to be very careful. Just make your stitches one at a time. You don't have to rush, so that you don't end up with a bag that is bad. Okay, you want everything to be neat, so you just have to take your time. To ensure you're not sewing on the flap of the bag, you have to take the flap away from underneath it, so that you don't stitch on the flap. Once you're done with that, you'll fix the first gusset. Next is to fix the second gusset for the bag. So straighten things up where you ruffled it, where it was rough, just straighten it up. We have loose threads, try and trim them off as well. Then you place the second gusset. So we are starting from the back this time. Ensure you're not sewing on your flap. So if you have to remove the flap from underneath it, please ensure to do so. Remember that when you're sewing your gusset, especially this gusset construction type, you do not rush. So just stitch a stitch at a time. You may have to roughen your bag a little bit, but just do whatever it is that you must in order to stitch the gusset to the main panel of the bag. So once you're done stitching, you can then straighten up all the parts that you made rough while you're trying to stitch the gusset. That was a little dark. I had to get more light so that you can see what I was doing. And here we have our gusset stitched to the main body of the bag. Right here we have the bag and it's ready. So once we've been able to fix the two gussets, then the bag is ready. We can then close it up. So cut off the excess threads if you have to bone them off with fire. Ensure to do so. Yes, we have a lot of trainings on these types of bags, structured bags, in our handbag construction class, where we'll be teaching you the pattern drafting, the manipulation and construction of a lot more of these bags so that you can make these bags on your own and even creatively make your own unique designs. The link to enroll for the handbag construction class can be found in the description of this video. Do ensure to follow the link so that you can join the class and learn much more. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that it was useful to you. We would love to see your feedbacks. We would love to see the bags you make. Once again, thank you and don't forget to subscribe. This is Yellow Learn.